right, I would like to start out with a little round of applause for SENEDIA and the Marriott staff that gave us this great opportunity today. I am so excited to be in this job. This is such a great time to be in the business of developing new capabilities. We're in a swirling sea of innovation and opportunities to deliver greatness to the nation. When my boss was up here earlier, he talked about his enduring priorities: strengthening maritime dominance, building a culture of warfighting excellence, and enhancing strategic partnerships. And my office plays through all of those things. A primary topic that he's driven to through the rest of this term at least is in shipbuilding. I'll be talking about that in a little bit of detail. And thank you, Scott, for the introduction. I greatly appreciate it. I was here about a year ago as the Director for Operational Test and Evaluation. The best job I've ever had up to that point, but that definitely has been eclipsed by this one. I appreciate the background. I will also have to say that I am the first former enlisted person to have this job. I'm pretty excited about that. The ability to connect my experience of the waterfront and understanding a sailor's perspective and helping all the rest of my team appreciate who they're working for, the sailors and Marines that our naval acquisition community drives capability towards. My time at Carnegie Mellon Software Engineering Institute was especially foundational in better understanding that it's not just the capability that we have that's ever changing, but the mechanisms we use to deliver that capability. That the system used to build a system is a system in and of itself, and we don't always look at it in those terms. It is my responsibility to provide, as you know, not just the platforms, those things that conquer the tyranny of distance, the submarines, the ship, the airplanes, but the mission systems that go in them as well, the things that turn a ship into a warship, for example. And one of the things I'll be doing is, in my time in this position, will be to make sure that we're looking at those things through the best fit lens for how to manage those things going forward. How do we deliver innovation incrementally and iteratively through things like software and modularity and those things that we need to get from here to wherever the fight is. I've been in this job for 8 fantastic, tumultuous months. And I've had an opportunity to get out and see the naval enterprise, naval acquisition and repair enterprise, small business executives, major defense primes, and our other key partners. But I've also got a chance to get out to where the waterfront action is, the ship repair activities like our public shipyards and our public shipyards and repair facilities as well. I got a chance to go to places I'd worked at in the past, like the Naval Undersea Warfare Center in Newport, for instance. The Portsmouth Naval Shipyard, where I was a Navy Reserve engineer. Norfolk Naval Shipyard, where I helped deliver a handful of different new mission systems into submarines. And even Electric Boat and Norfolk Naval, where I worked on upgrading systems, and Newport News, and then Electric Boat, where I helped deliver new systems into submarines, as well as a reservist for supervisor of shipbuilding at Groton. So a great opportunity to further explore and build new knowledge and help other people see perspectives. But we need to be successful together as a government, industry, academia partnership, but also organizations like SENEDIA that help us connect, help us, the government, connect with you, as well as you to connect with each other. And these vital forums are especially important for exchanging ideas and seeing alternatives. One of our biggest challenges we face is in ship construction. We are on a tear of increasing the throughput of building submarines and surface ships, but submarines is our biggest challenge. We need to be hiring 10,000 people a year for a decade. That's an incredible amount of new workforce, mostly in tradescraft, but also in engineering and other supporting functions. But getting more tradespeople into the business of building ships and submarines is turning out to be a big challenge in the current state we have. But New England serves as a critical center of gravity for that work and for building up the depth that we need to do this business of delivering warfighting capability. And the Secretary talked about it earlier, how New England has been a big part of shipbuilding and system designs for as long as I've been alive, and certainly much further into the future. So it's not just the capability, but also the tools that I'm particularly interested in. How do I help my teams and the PEOs, the program managers, do their work even more effectively? In my meanderings across the country in engaging with the different parts of industry, I've also had an opportunity to talk with the people doing the physical work. I was in a shipyard not too long ago where their leadership afforded me the opportunity to talk with actual tradescraft people with scarred up hard hats and dirty steel-toed shoes. And I had a chance to talk with them about how can I talk other people into your job? What would you say to someone who's considering a role in being a part of this wonderful work that you do? And we did that in the shadow of a brand new ship that hadn't even been in the water yet. And I looked up at it, I pointed, and I said, this is a national strategic asset. But it doesn't happen without you, the shipbuilders. You are national strategic assets. How do I help other people find this profession that you have embraced? And I really condensed the different ideas that they had for me into the word opportunity. And it's not just for them as people, but also how they saw themselves in the workforce and as contributing to the national defense. So in that context of opportunity, they were talking about things like being able to buy a house and afford things for their children. One guy even talked about how he was helping his wife get through college so she could re-enter the workforce as well. One guy was particularly interesting story where he worked at Best Buy, some service industry, right? It's that's good work. We need those people. But after 12 years of it, he had a lack of a sense of purpose in his work, and was also looking for some place where he could grow. He's a well-spoken guy, articulate, knew how to deal with people, and shortly after, he'd been at the shipyard for 5 years, and they were already moving him up into, from apprentice to journeyman, et cetera. So he was doing better personally, and also felt better about the work he was doing. That was part of his opportunity. We all need to be a part of growing not just our college graduate workforce, but also our trade crafts workforce. So industry is hiring, and we have opportunities that young people who want to try their hands at a trade craft skill can express that and do well for themselves and their families. All right, so all that paints a rosy picture, but I will be talking later about how things are challenged, and we'll get into that a little bit more. We have been especially challenged in areas of supply chain, training issues, timeliness of delivery. We're getting after it, though. We're not idly sitting by and observing it. We are taking advantage of the resources we're getting, especially from Congress, on things like the submarine industrial base. That's a huge amount of resources. The Secretary mentioned earlier, billions of dollars that we are using not to build submarines, in this particular case, or surface ships. We also have some industrial-based resources in surface ships and munitions. But how do we do that work better? How do we scale up and do more of it? I'm particularly proud of an initiative I started, but the whole team rallied around very tightly. It seemed to be a really good idea, and is to look at these investments we have in mostly submarine industrial base, but like I said, in surface munitions and others, and think about it cohesively in the context of maritime industrial base. And I stood up a direct reporting program manager. I took one of my best and brightest people to lead that as getting that office stood up in a good place. We also have partnerships with the Office of Secretary of Defense in terms of the industrial base initiatives they have going on, and we're doing those things in partnership. SENEDIA has also been involved in training of over 5,000 individuals, showcasing the region's commitment to workforce development and excellence. It's an incredible feat, but like I said, 10,000 more people on the waterfront per year. We have a long ways to go, so we need to keep that drive alive. Also, as the Secretary mentioned, we are a global Navy, and we're out doing the work that the nation needs, and including keeping mariners safe in far reaches of the world. One of the things that I couldn't help but notice, I'm sure you all noticed too, is that our stuff worked, right? The opponent only needs to get their stuff to work once. We've got a pretty good record so far, but if I were somebody building some new and exciting alternative, I'd be studying our successes and thinking, how do I overcome those things? So we need to continue to innovate, continue to drive initiatives forward to improve our warfighting capability, because you can be certain that our potential future opponents are right now. One of the big initiatives that I'm very focused on now is to get into serial production of 1 Columbia and 2 Virginias per year by 2028. We're not there right now. And it's a big mountain we have to climb. But another reason to climb that mountain is just a few years later, we also have to get to 2 1/3 Virginias a year in order to match up with our commitments we've made under the AUKUS initiative. So last year, Secretary Del Toro announced his vision for maritime statescraft to prevail in an era of intense strategic competition. Now, each of us are a part of maritime statescraft because it also includes building up our naval capabilities as a part of it. But we're not just doing it just for us. We're also, through the Secretary's leadership, reaching out to other parts of the government and looking to industries that could be working as a part of improving our maritime shipbuilding capabilities, which took a huge hit during the early 80s, where during the Reagan administration, we cut off a lot of the funding and support that we were providing to this strategic and necessary critical technology area. So we're getting a lot of support through bipartisan support with Congress on maritime statescraft. And why do I care about that? I'm a combatant shipbuilder. But if we increase our national ability to build ships, then that increases the market, increases opportunities for people to come into this kind of line of work, and that will increase my ability over time to do the job of building the fleet the Navy and Marine Corps needs. So some of our recent challenges include workforce shortages in trade crafts, like I mentioned, but also design engineers. I was told not to use the word COVID, but there it is. It has made a tremendous impact to all of the work that you do, and we are recovering from it, but we're not there yet. We have a lot of work to do while we're also trying to increase the depth and breadth of the capabilities that we're delivering. When I first came into the role, the Secretary asked me to do a deep dive into just shipbuilding. He gave me 45 days to do it. I lashed up in partnership with the commander of Naval Sea Systems Command and stood up a big team, and they chewed on data and came up with a handful of recommendations that we've been working on ever since. And so the 45-day study really kind of did one of those king is no clothes moments, really illuminated to us just where we were and what did we have to do better, and we are getting after it. Is there a little bit of applause over there? I'm good with that. Thank you. All right. So we were just talking earlier about, make sure you read your speech. You don't want to ad-lib too much, but I'm kind of an ad-lib guy, so sorry for the pregnant pauses there, but please bear with me. So the infrastructure of shipbuilding also is something that we have to work on together. We need to improve things like the use of automation and use of data, and how do we drive more performance into the warfighting functions. A lot of this work is just manual work, not just manual, it is manual work, intense manual work, important manual work. But in the places where we can use automation to increase our throughput, we're not getting rid of anybody. We got to hire a ton of people. So we need your ideas, we need your innovations about how we can do better at building out and maintaining the fleet. So I'm particularly excited about the establishment of the Maritime Industrial Base Direct Reporting Program Manager, as I mentioned, but I just want to make sure we're all clear on that. It's mostly submarine industrial base. That's where most of the money is. That's where the big need is. But as we go forward and we think about, well, where else can we take advantage of those resources for improving the rest of the Navy? And that's something that Jay Stephanie is going to really focus on, is getting that submarine industrial part working, getting us up to 1+2 by 28 and beyond, but also to facilitate the improvement of the rest of the shipbuilding work that we have to do, where it doesn't detract from the major thrust of submarine industrial base improvement. And New England will play a big part of how we do that work. Let me talk a little bit about some of the other things that are going on, including some of the things we saw down on the shop floor. We're looking at the innovations coming up in how we do this work and the suppliers necessary for driving into the ships and submarines we're building improved performance. We recently identified a polymer application process, for example. We can't talk about the particular product, but the idea that we are looking at all kinds of different ways of improving how we build out our systems, including the use of additive manufacturing, for instance, to displace some of the things that would normally done through forging. How do we improve our ability to get the capability we need, get the hardware we need in order to do this work of building ships and submarines and airplanes, but also through a different lens of the mission systems, continuously improve their capabilities. To that end, on the mission system side, I've been watching with genuine interest on what's been happening with the Submarine Warfare Federated Tactical System re-architecture work. Now, for those of you who might be paying attention, I was involved in the kind of like plank holder, if you will, for using commercial technologies and modern software development practices, at least we thought they were modern at the time, in the late 1990s for changing the way we were building submarine sonar, for instance, and then later driving that into kind of the rest of the submarine combat system. In the intervening time, the Army, Air Force, even POIWS was actually moving past, in my mind, where the submarine combat systems product family had matured to. So that when I first came into the job, and Admiral Todd Weeks, who's now my PO for SSBN, but at the time is my PO for Undersea Weapons Systems, was coming into my office and he was going to tell me what kind of wonderful things he was doing, and I was just really looking forward to that conversation, because I was going to really take it to him about how did you let this thing get all crusty and stale while everyone else moved past us. And gosh darn it, if he didn't actually have a good story about how he was re-architecting the Swiftest lay down, not just the deployed product, but also the pipeline that served it. That idea of the system needed to create a system is a system in and of itself, and that they had that. It's almost like they read some of my research. I was pretty happy about that. Anyway, there's some really good work that's going on there. The Undersea Technology Innovation Consortium on a other transaction authority contract was awarded just a few years ago, and they're making some great work for decoupling software and hardware dependencies, like we'd never done that before, but they're doing it even better. That will allow us to more fluidly deploy new functionality in containers with less dependency on the hardware footprint it's going to run on. which will open up opportunities for us to think differently about how we do, for instance, technology insertions. So these efforts involve many traditional and non-traditional industry partners. And I say traditional, now it's from the perspective of these are the people that were new in the late 90s, and now, all these years later, now they're traditional. I'm sure that doesn't make them feel very good, but it's a great opportunity for everyone, I think, as we open up those opportunities for creativity, innovation, and integration of new functionality for the future. So that's one example. There's another example of what's going on in the PEO for integrated warfare systems on the surface ship side. They are also doing foundational re-architecture effort, principally focused on driving capability to the fleet. They even recently deployed a new software functionality over the air into a combat system. It's unheard of. So I'm particularly grateful that they are looking at how to innovate their business models and their supporting technologies. So let's talk about the industry partner challenges that we have when it comes to how the government articulates what the opportunities are to you, so that you can understand where you have opportunities to innovate, but also there's technology pull. How do we create opportunities for you to express creativity in the functionality you can provide, but have a venue by which you could deliver it to the fleet? All right, so let's talk about torpedoes for a minute. We are restarting production efforts on heavyweight torpedoes and lightweight torpedoes that because we had let that go for a long time. And as it turns out, when you do some modeling of what we might have to do in the future, torpedoes will be a big part of it. But we need more of them. And it's been a hard, well-fought battle to get our torpedo production up to where it needs to be, especially in the afterbody propulsion sections where I used to work on when I was out at Newark Keyport, as well as the guidance and control sections. The lightweight torpedo production is also improving over time. Acoustic device countermeasure production for submarines and things like surface ship torpedo defense, Nixie and others. These are all things that need to evolve, and occasionally we need to think about how we build them differently. And that's re-architecture good for the soul. Not something to be done recklessly, but something to be done occasionally. As we press into the foreseeable future, especially related to the warfighting environments we will find ourselves in, Indo-PACOM, the Bab el-Mandab, Gulf of Red Sea, sorry. We will need to get your creativity in order to do this work better. So in closing, these efforts are foundational to the Secretary of Defense's, Secretary of the Navy's rather, initiatives. The focus areas he has, the Maritime Statescraft Initiative, I'll need your help. It's a big team sport, and there's plenty of room. So this cultural shift that we need to go through in taking strategic thinking and driving it into how we deliver our products is our opportunity to change how we go about our business. My team is laser focused on delivering that capability to the warfighter, and the Secretary of the Navy has charged me with a clear and unwavering responsibility to provide the ships, aircraft, and weapons the Navy and Marine Corps demand on time, on budget, and in the numbers required. And we will not waver. Thank you. And I look forward to your questions.